today, right here, right now, this is the moment that you will finally say,
I'm growing my accounting practice. And you're going to discover exactly how right here, right now on the Grow My Accounting Practice podcast.
episode 107.
Nice, man.
Yeah, welcome everyone. I'm Ron Saharian, co-founder of Profit First Professionals.
And I'm Mike McCallowitz, the author of Profit First. Tell me you got a copy of that book in your sticky little fingers right now.
I just sent that book to 12 accountants.
Yeah, well, be the 13th and pick one up. Mm-hmm. And you are listening to GMAP. That stands for Grow My Accounting Practice. This is the show where we teach you how to grow your practice, be it an accountant, be it a bookkeeper, and we also give you what's called the GMAP Now task, the one task that if you do it, you will grow your accounting practice today. And we give you the Psychology of the Sale by Ron Kenobi himself, and we have an interview with an amazing guest today, Dan Nichols.
Great guest today. And of course, you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Google Play, and of course, growmyaccountingpractice.com. And in all serious, if you haven't picked up the book Profit First, pick it up. If you know somebody that owns a business, pick it up and gift it to them. It really is life-changing.
Yes, thank you, Ron, and that is true. We can't tell you how many businesses have been affected by it, and how many businesses are looking for accountants, bookkeepers, and consultants to help them with Profit First.
Let's talk about unseating the incumbent. What a service differentiator.
Yeah, totally. Well, talking about unseating the incumbent, we're going to talk about how to get unstuck. You know, sometimes the one that's in your way is not the incumbent; it's you yourself. How do you get unstuck so you can make more money? Well, we have the author of Getting Unstuck and the Lemonade Stand Simple program with us today. That's Dan Nichols, who's going to walk you through it. A couple of things we want to do on the administrative front first, though, is, we started this program, Ron, where you can get free access to the monthly webinars that I teach them. I know other folks are starting to teach them from our crew here. A few months ago, we did Profit First itself. We taught all the basics. Then we did one on the pricing paradox and how to kind of navigate around that. Upcoming one, I'm doing how to catch market momentum in a niche. Like, how do you identify a niche, but then catch the movement of the market? It's all stuff I write about in my book.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I know all this. I've read all this.
My newest book.
We do all this.
I've done Streamline, the research for it for over a year now, and found there is a hidden secret out there for business efficiency that no one's talking about.
Oh, I know what it is. Want me to share it?
No.
Oh, okay, sorry.
We'll wait till the book comes out. But I'm sharing that in the webinar.
Oh.
I'm sharing right when the book comes out. So you can get all that stuff for free if you simply send a text.
And here's the thing. These webinars, they're learn it, do it. And this is what we practice, what we preach. Everything that we're teaching, it has been adopted internally in Profit First Professionals.
We do it here too. So right now, hopefully we've whet your appetite. Send a text to GMAP, that's GMAP, GMAP to 678-506-7543. Again, that's GMAP to 678-506-7543. Send us that text right now. We'll sign you up for the free monthly webinars. And before we kick off with our guest, Ron, would you mind sharing who the corporate partners we are for supporting the show?
Absolutely. Thank you, Funbox.
Oh, I didn't have my sound queued up. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Nextiva.
Oh, I'm so far behind. I'm still off.
Thank you, Receipt Bank.
Oh, there you go. There's one. I finally got one.
And of course, thank you, Fundera. Okay. You guys are all awesome.
Stalwarts. These are corporate partners who've been with us from the get-go, and they should be with you. I mean, they're extraordinary companies that drive businesses forward. Your clients can use them.
Yeah, and we're talking about being more consultative. You may not need these products or these services immediately. Chances are your customers will.
Yep. Dan is a business launch and growth coach. He looks first to the psychology of the entrepreneur and then to the three variables that all success demands. That's passion, persistence, and vision. He helps students go through his two online courses, which is Get Unstuck and the Lemonade Stand Simple, Made Simple.
And I am so pumped for this because this is a way to help accounting professionals get themselves unstuck and also to help them coach their customers and dig deeper and peel back the onion and help them move forward in their business.
Yep. Dan's true love is helping businesses launch and grow. That's why he's here. Dan, sorry about bastardizing your introduction a little bit there, but welcome to our show.
I was thinking to myself, why don't you just let me do it? I'll intro me.
I was saying the same thing.
You
in
know,
my
it would
head.
be good. It would be good. The only problem is it's kind of weird when the guest has to introduce themselves. You know,
I know, completely weird. It's way cooler when somebody else does
it's
it.
way
and
cooler
hacks
if the
it,
guy
but
could read the script well. I have it on the bottom corner of my screen, and I'm not wearing my glasses. That's why I'm like squinting and stuff. But you know, you were on our sister program, the Profit First podcast, and you wowed us and our audience so much. We're like, we got to get you back on GMAP and share some specific tactics you have for the ABCs of the world, accountants, bookkeepers, and coaches. How do we get started with getting unstuck with, I guess, our own roadblocks?
Yeah. So I'm curious, just a little, I don't know if I call this trivia, but you had an Australian guy on a podcast not too long ago, and you said he was probably the one guest that you had on that was your closest back to back. Is that still true?
Yes, that is true. Wayne
Schmidt?
Schmidt. Yeah, I couldn't remember his last name. Wayne Schmidt.
What do you mean, in lookalikes?
No, back to back. He came on and he came on for LinkedIn. He came in for expertise in different kind of vertical things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just beat it. I mean, you did sister shows like day 1 and day 2 that far back to back. So that you are the new winner, just so you know.
Really? Cool. Because I thought maybe with the time change or something, somehow he would have slipped through that. Hey, hey guys, I got a quick trivia question for you though before we get started.
Okay.
I was in upstate New York a few years back. I did for a big accounting firm. I did a game show. As I shared with you yesterday, I do game shows. A gratuitous plug here. GameShowGuy.com. Anyway, so I love doing game shows. I love it. Anyway, it's my entertainer side. So one of the trivia questions it was a Family Feud style question, was name the 5 things you might find in an auditor's briefcase. Now, this is a big upstate accounting firm, upstate New York accounting firm. Go ahead, guys. What are the 5?
All right. Calculator.
That was mine. Pencil.
Bing, bing, bing. Got that one. Yes.
Okay. Pencil. Bifocals.
Pocket protector.
No. I would say
laptop.
No, I'd say it's financial. It's their briefcase. I'd say they're financials.
All right, but now you guys are going to miss one. But listening to your show, I know you guys kind of have this thread through a lot of the shows. The other one was a bottle of whiskey.
That's funny and so true.
And that one lit the crowd up. It didn't have as many respondents. You know, it only had like 2 or 3, but it was worth putting up on the board. Anyway, it made me thought I kind of made a big tie-in because it's sort of in your neck of the woods. That was a cool place, Skinny Atlas, New York. I love that. That was a neat place.
Shout out Skinny Atlas.
Yeah. Shout out to those guys. So your question to me was you had asked about the Unstuck piece. Let me share a quick story, and this is centered right around the accountants of the world, okay? The number crunchers of the world, of which I will absolutely admit I am not that guy. I'm the creative entrepreneurial style. That's just not me. But I recognize the importance of all that. Of course I do. It's the language of business. I totally get that. I believe it. So quick story. I was working at a nonprofit in the city of Detroit about 10 years ago. I was helping people there launch businesses. And now we're talking people that, a lot of them had really, difficult times in their lives, and they want to start this business. They've been through all the job programs. They've done all this stuff, but they've got this passion to want to just start a business. I mean, I help people launch a honey business where the guy had beehives in different areas in the city of Detroit. I help people launch a cheesecake business, all sorts of different businesses people had. And one day the founder, I was about 6 months in as a consultant down there, and I was there about a little over a year. It was really hard to leave. I didn't want to leave, but I had another calling to do some other things. But anyway, so when I was there, she called me down to the office. She said, Dan, I got a question for you. She said, I've got the Spirit Awards this weekend. She said, I have over, it was 5 or 6, I can't remember exactly, people that are getting granted, they're getting grants from the bank where they're actually going to give them some money to help launch the business. They're actually going to get some funds to do this thing. And she said, here's the deal though. I have 5 consultants on staff. She said, over half the people getting the awards and the grants are your clients. Why? And I looked at her, I said, Kathy, I said, without any, and this was with no pause, and this isn't me being cocky or anything. I said, because the other guys are all bookkeepers and accountants. That's their deal. That's their background. I'm the only guy you hired here that has a liberal arts background, more psych philosophy. And I happen to be business coachy, life coachy guy anyway, right? And I said, so this is easy. This is easy math for me. I said, what they do when they get them in the office is they sit, and I loved earlier, Ron, you said Dan can help you coach your clients, because we know that the nature of the accounting industry is going towards more consultative coaching than it is, because again, with the AI out there, this stuff's getting easier for people to do, right? Yep. To do it in-house. It's just getting simpler and simpler. And it was just simple. It was just simple for me to share with her. I said, I'm the only guy here that's not sitting in the room talking to them for hours upon hours about their books. That's what these guys do. They sit them down. They say, hey, let me see your spreadsheet. Let me see your, hey man, that's not the problem. The problem is, something happened to her mother the other night. The problem is she's getting, she's not getting any money and, she's having trouble feeding her baby. These are the real problems that people were having. Now, and I'm not saying though that's exactly what all the accountants and the bookkeepers are going through, but that's kind of it's a small taste of the fact that what really drives the people is first we got to get our stuff together upstairs. And me personally, I like to look at stuff at a molecular level. I like to know the root cause. And I'm sorry, but it's not usually the numbers. The numbers are the indicators of deeper problems, right?
Right.
Whether it be HR, whether it be, and it's still, you could still argue it could go back to numbers in a lot of way, but a lot of times, when you really look at the business owners, and then and that was that thing earlier you shared where I said the three variables that success demands. I really think that this is an easy one for all your accountants to consider. Write these down. I call it the success formula: passion, persistence, and vision. PPV. If you take any one of those, passion, persistence, or vision, and you say, what's going on? And you start to analyze what's going on at the top, if you will, not, maybe not the employees, but what's going on at the top? Why isn't the company making any money? You'll find out either A, they've lost the passion for what they're doing, and that could be because they've had some tough life events. It could be because they're bored to death of it and it just doesn't get them up in the morning anymore. You might find out that they're lacking in persisting. They're not doing the work. They're just not doing the work. I heard a Gene Simmons interview. Have either of you guys seen there was a Gene Simmons interview on cable here I don't know if it's been on for a while, but I happened to have caught it last night on TV, and he was talking about the whole 99% perspiration, 1% inspiration.
I've not seen that, but I know that saying.
Yeah, the saying, but what it made me think of is you got to do the work. You got to do the work. So at any time that your business is suffering, anytime, I would look first to those things. The last thing I would do, for me personally, remember, I come from a different place, is say, let me see the books right away. No, now here's the other interesting thing, guys. As accountants, you can look at books and it shows you a matrix, right? It's a world that I don't see. Ron can probably open up the books and see all sorts of problems just by forensically, right? By just looking at the numbers.
No, not actually. I'm not a degreed accountant or a bookkeeper. I'm much like the operations guy, and that's why I love Profit First so much, because it is behavioral, and it's an easy way for the entrepreneur to, kind of understand what's going on in their business.
Right.
So, but I play one on the phone sometimes.
Yeah. Well, from the accounting side, though, these accountants will open up books. They look at them and they pour over the numbers, and they see things that I know that I wouldn't see, and maybe you wouldn't see either. Even as Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm Dan Vader, by the way.
Yep.
Okay. So. But anyway, long story short, though, it's usually a deeper thing. It's just like, I remember when I finally understood molecules and atoms at some level, I'm like, oh, that's why oil's slippery. Oh, that's why bricks break easily. I like to look at the deeper stuff. And I think that's what a lot of accountants miss. They want to go right to the books. If you want to have a succcesul accounting business, you got to learn how to pour in some of this, this coaching stuff. You had a guest on recently. Help me with her name. She's a coach.
Sabrina.
And
Dr. Sabrina Starling?
Could be Donna Kretsch.
That might have been it. Might have been it. And she was just great. And she was sharing how you have to ask deeper questions.
Yeah.
You have to keep that. Right. Because then I know that Mike said he tried it on his son to get back to college.
Right. Oh, wow. You listened. Yeah. And it worked.
Your son's in college?
Yeah, and it worked.
Well, for now, I know. No, it's the older one.
Right.
And, So let's getting to the deeper thing. What I'm hearing, Dan, is it's really there's an emotion behind these numbers. That the numbers I think sometimes are the symptom, but the disease is further or deeper in. And what I'm hearing, you're saying that what you've observed in many accountants and bookkeepers is they're not digging into the emotion or that disease.
The why, yeah.
Well, yeah. Is it not completely true? I mean, think about it. That's not kind of in there. It's not in their nature. It's not really in their nature to be that guy. In fact, a lot of them, because I've known a lot, we all know the accountant types, right? The bookkeeper types. I mean, I know I do. I have several friends. I have, that they're, if they're numbers guys, a lot of times they're not necessarily as strong on the other end, right? They're not necessarily as touchy-feely, you know? So they want the numbers and they want to be behind the computer and they want to be with the books. Mm-hmm. That's their comfort zone. So I think that for them to really grow what they got, they've got to start diving into this EQ, if you will. that emotional
Yeah.
piece.
Yeah.
They've got to really start digging into that because, Mike, you nailed it. I mean, it's not maybe or might, it's an absolute. That you said that the disease versus the symptoms.
Yeah.
Absolutely, positively.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no doubt at all.
We have thousands and thousands of ABCs, accountants, bookkeepers, and coaches who listen to the show. And for many folks, the natural tendency, just as you said, Dan, is not to get into the touchy-feely. But the computers are taking over the transactional side. Do you have a strategy? Like, how do you become more touchy-feely? I mean, if it's not innate, is there a way to become more capable in that arena?
I'm speechless. No.
My heart started racing.
Oh, he was born that way.
Gosh, that's a tough one. I really think because it's not so rote. It's not like you can say, "Oh, I'm going to go read this book and then I'm going to understand it." Right? It's that heartfelt, deeper side. And now I will tell you this: I think that if somebody wants to go and start doing some more deep discovery around themselves, around who they are, hire the coach, hire that life coach guy or gal to help them kind of figure that piece of them out and get more heart-centered. That whole, I forgot who wrote the book. It was around heart-centered leadership, right? Because that's what really that's what touch moves and inspires people, is that authentic, heartfelt stuff. That's the people we want to be around. That's why great leaders are great leaders, because they're able to connect that piece with us. And if you want to be a successful accountant or bookkeeper or coach, you've got to learn to touch, move, and inspire people at that level, at that heart level. You can't just go and start talking to them about books, because that doesn't drive the bus. And we talked about that, recently on the Profit First podcast yesterday, which is the whole thing about, it's the 90-10. We're 90% emotional, we're 10% logical. Guess who wins? Every freaking time. If you said to me, Dan, what's your favorite color? And I'd say, oh, it's blue. And you'd say, oh, well, is that because you like the alignment or the length of that particular spectrum of color? Forget about it. No, I like the color blue, man.
Yeah.
It feels good. It feels good.
So
and
just
somebody could go and
real quick for our guests, the book that you referred to is called Heart-Centered Leadership, Lead Well, Live Well by Susan Steinbrecher, just so everyone knows. So I like the idea of, if it's not your natural tendency, partner up with someone, right? Like, you could have a partner in your business, but you could also find, if you're an accountant or bookkeeper, you can find that coach who's out there who's doing the coaching but doesn't know the numbers, and now you're a 1-2 punch.
Oh, nice little
beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I think that's a great tie-in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to get a little further into this, getting unstuck. You say passion, persistence, and vision. Tell me more about the persistence part.
Well, again, I don't like to overcomplicate stuff because it's simple. Persistence is the work. It's just, but here's the thing. If you don't have the vision, so you got the three things. You got passion, persistence, and vision. I swear to you, it works for everything, from working out, at the gym, all the way to having a successful business. I don't care what it is. You need all three of those things. If at any time things aren't working, it's a disconnect. It's a failure to follow the order. Because everything in life has a natural order. The way a rose eventually develops into a rose, it starts with the seed, and then it's dirt, and it's watered, and the sunlight. There's everything in this physical universe follows a natural order, and that includes success. Even success. I hate to be that simplistic about it, but break it down. It's passion, persistence, and vision. Somebody had a really strong passion for a particular topic. They did all the really hard work, and they had a vision in mind. They had an end result that they wanted, whether it was being you and you writing your book, whether it be the two of you developing your podcast together. You got a passion, you persistent, and you had a goal in mind. And if all of a sudden you guys started to derail, you could literally look back at it all and say, what's missing? What am I not doing? Oh, I'm passionate as hell about it, but I don't get out of bed in the morning to do the work. I do the work and I'm really passionate, but it just doesn't seem to work out. If I just had one more customer. Yeah, but here's the deal. You got no freaking vision. Who do you want to be? You got to have a place that you want to go.
Is there a way you find that vision? Is there, I think a lot of people go.
I got the way.
Yeah, how's that?
You see Oprah Winfrey speak.
Yeah, that's right. That was Ron's turning moment. This is a true story. But how do you, if you've been in business to make money, and maybe you're making money, but you get stuck, you can't turn to the next level. A vision will get you there, but where do you get started if your vision's been just to make money? Yeah,
well, you and I actually touched on that the other day around the whole idea about just making money, because making money doesn't tend to really light people up. Now there are people that you would look at and argue that about. You get these young 20-somethings that are out, turning multi-million-dollar companies and doing all these amazing things. You could argue that it was about the money for them, but we know at the end of the day what it was really about, and that's the ego's most prized possession, which is admiration.
Yeah.
People will kill for it. Wars are fought over it. Admiration is the number one, ego's number one commodity is admiration. So now, will that continue to fulfill you? Absolutely not. At 21 years of age, I bought my first house, and
Wow.
my drive was to be the first one out of high school with a home. Right? That was my simple. It was that simple.
Yeah.
It was all ego. The second I closed on that house, I was deflated. I said, "Is this it? You got to freaking be kidding me!"
Right.
I wanted to be. I mean, that was my ego
As
goal.
you were
man, to be the first
vacuuming,
one.
going, "Oh, I forgot about the work to maintain this."
No, it was just this emptiness of like, really, this is it? I was
Yeah.
waiting for the heavens to part. Like, what's supposed to happen next? And it was a blessing and a curse, because the downside of that is what I quickly grabbed was that, wait a second, this money thing isn't filling me up. This big deal, So I grew a big lawn maintenance and landscaping business. So what? Big deal. Now what? What's the next chapter, man? Because this didn't do it. And I heard he's a big actor. Oh man, he was in Magic Mike. Help me, guys.
yeah. Tatum Tatum or Tatum Chating or
No,
Sounds good
come
to me.
on. He was
I
in,
don't know.
no.
Channing Tatum.
You nailed it. You
yeah,
nailed it,
something
Ron.
like that.
Yeah.
No, he was in Magic Mike, though. He's in really good shape, the guy. I can't remember the. Anyway, a real famous actor. And he said, I heard him in an interview one time, and he said, you always got to have a vision. He goes, because then when you get there, you got to have another one. And I just really admired how he said that so clearly. And you know what, Mike, you asked the question, you're like, yeah, well, how do you get that vision? And I guess my answer back is like, hey, man, if you don't got one, you got to keep trying stuff until something comes up. Because what you find out in life isn't who you are. You find out what you're not. And you only do that through a series of actions. And that's why, just like the way if you put a block of wood in front of an artist that carves, what they do, they have an end vision for that. They know what they want, but they've got to keep shaving away. They got to keep trying until they get that. And that's the same with people. A lot of people will sit there idly and they expect for this thing to happen. And that's not the way it works. It's not part of the grand design. The grand design is you go out and you find out through a series of actions. I don't care if you want to call them failures or successes. It doesn't matter. What you find out is what you're not. You've always been there. Who you are has always been there.
Can it be right under your nose? I mean, if I'm a bookkeeper who's been working with my clients for 20 years now, if I just take pause and evaluate who I'm serving and why I'm serving them, can the answer for my vision, my passion, all be right there?
I totally see how it could be. I mean, look back at your journey, Mike.
Yeah.
You started out with this business, give me kind of the nutshell on that. You sold a business, you did really well.
Yeah, the nutshell
early on.
for me, sold 2 businesses, made money selling my businesses, blew money, I wanted to have the 3 cars in my my car stable. I wanted to have the big house and another one, and just started blowing money, but also became an angel investor, lost all my money. And
a bit of a douche.
And it became kind of a dick. And thank you, Ron. Appreciate the reminder. And here's the big aha moment was, there's a saying, Dan, that when you have all the money in the world, what would you do? Because the answer is there. Like, if you had all the freedom, you could do anything, what would you do? Go do it. I found the opposite is true. When you have no money in the world, what would you do? Because you have nothing to lose. It's the exact same answer. So I hit rock bottom, and that's where I just feel called to be an author, to serve underdog entrepreneurs, to do anything to help an entrepreneur who's struggling to survive and thrive. And I will do, that's my life's calling. That's how I found it.
Me too. I'm in the exact same boat. So what happened was you started out kind of on this trajectory of entrepreneurship thinking that was it. But what you really found out through a series of steps in trying and failing and succeeding, a little bit of everything. And the word failure to me, I don't want to be cliche, but like, that's like, who cares, whatever. That's just part of a process to get you where you want. Every time the artist carves away at that block of wood, is he failing or she failing? No, They're getting down to the true essence of what they're after, So, I mean, you know it. And you know what, whether you had money or not, you absolutely positively know that what you'd be doing is what you're doing right now, Mike, right?
No, totally. Yeah. Money is not relevant. I mean, it's important, it serves, but it's not relevant in my calling or my purpose. And I think it's a reflective period, right? I looked back. Ron had the moment too. Literally, he's at watching Oprah on stage, and I get this text from him. He's like, "Dude, my eyes are open." And Ron, it was a reflection for you, right? Looking back at your life story. So you guys share the story with Dan because he doesn't know it.
Yeah. So, I've been pretty successful in the corporate world, running some companies, making a boatload of money, and thought it was fulfilling because I was making a lot of money and I was buying whatever I wanted to buy. Quality of life was okay, but it really wasn't. I was schlepping into Manhattan. For a long time. Missed the first 4 years of my daughter's life, pretty much. But I was making a lot of money. One day it took me 6 hours to get home. But and so when Mike, we were done scaling, and I was all about making the money. I'm like, I'm not schlepping into Manhattan if we're not scaling anymore. So, I always didn't want to ever look back and say, I wish I started a company. And it was just, serendipitous that Mike approached me about Profit First. And my first reaction was, hell yeah, we're going to make a boatload of money.
Right.
A boatload of money. This is great. I saw the niche. I saw the need. I saw how we could plug the holes and so much we can do. But it wasn't until honestly that I had my Oprah moment where I was like, you know what? We're bigger than this. Yeah. This is the calling. Not only can we help ourselves, but more importantly, we can help the community. Yeah. We can help bookkeepers, accountants, entrepreneurs. I don't want my buddy Mike to ever suffer like he ever suffered before. My other friends. And I know I'm good. I know I'll be able to always make money, but this was the higher calling. So that's where we were like, you know what? Our mission now is to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. This is what I'm set to do, and having that clarity and being able to say, you know what, man, this really is it. Really opened my eyes out to the realization that, don't get me wrong, money's nice. Having none of it sucks, but there are other things that are more important.
So the folks listening in, if they have this purpose, will this help them drive through their accounting practice? Through the ups and downs that they're facing?
Yeah, the one thing, and you guys have just both spoke to it perfectly. When you're doing something that you're really into, something that lights you up, gets you out of bed in the morning, it will always feed both sides. It'll feed you and it'll feed them. And there's nothing wrong with that. It always feeds both. If what you're doing is just earning money and it's not really benefiting anybody else, you forget about it. That will not be a passion. Absolutely not. It won't sustain itself. It won't. No, think about it. It always feeds both.
Yeah, and this is what we coach with our members. You got to get to the emotional juice with your customers. Why are a clean set of books important? Why are they doing this business? What will it mean to them to have more profit? And getting to that emotional juice is what we call it. And maybe it's because I'm scared to death. If I'm not a successful business owner, I'm going to have a difficult time paying my kids' college tuition. All right, well, let's make sure we pay your kids' college tuition. And regardless of what the why is or the purpose is. As accountants and bookkeepers, we are in a great position to really get to the emotional juice and help the business owner accomplish their dreams. We're dream granters, if you look at it that way.
Dan, tell me about the imposter syndrome. I think this is fascinating, and I think so many accountants and bookkeepers face that challenge.
Yeah. Two things. One is Matthew McConaughey was the actor I couldn't think of. And
there you go.
That guy's got some deep philosophical stuff, that guy. I really learned to respect him when I hear him talk. Hey guys, so all right, so there's 5 core issues that get in the way of us as entrepreneurs. There's 5 core issues that get in the way of us succeeding, of following that passion, persistence, and vision. Mike just touched on one. That's one of what I call the core stoppers. So if you want to get unstuck, you got to understand these things. And if people are looking for a quick, fast answer as to, how do you overcome them? Yeah. You know what? It's like everything in life. I'm not saying you're going to overcome it. What you do become, though, is aware of it. And then you need to feel that, honor it, know that it's just part of that inner child talking to you, and then move past it. You what you do is you learn to negotiate that stuff. You don't ever get over it. You're not going to kill the inner child that got fear-filled at 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old. They're always in you. They don't die and go away. Those memories do not go away. Okay, unless you have brain damage. That's the only way they go away. Okay. So the imposter syndrome is one of them. And that's where you feel like you're faking the current moment. I guarantee you there's accountants out there, bookkeepers in the field right now that are just getting started or maybe even been in it for 6 months to a year, and they feel like frauds.
Yeah.
That's the big one. You feel like an imposter when you walk in the office. You're like, really, me? Who am I to be walking in here? I can't believe it. I hope they don't figure out that this is. I remember when I was graduating from college, and I thought to myself, I kept waiting for somebody to come up and tap me on the shoulder and say, dude, get the robe off. You didn't really graduate. You know, because I felt like that I was an imposter at that moment in time. So that's the imposter syndrome. You feel like you're faking the current moment. And I go deep into all these things in my course, Get Unstuck Online. The next one, you like this one. We talked about it yesterday. It's tied to the deepest fear of all, which is the fear of death.
Yeah.
And that is the Fulb syndrome, the fear of looking bad.
Yes.
Nobody wants to look bad. Nobody wants to look bad. Growth always demands one thing from us: discomfort. I don't care whether it's exercise, you're going to feel some pain. People put elastic in their waistbands because they don't want to feel it pinch on their growing gut. Growth demands discomfort. So all these things, all these core stoppers, we talked about the imposter syndrome, the fear of looking bad. These are all things that we don't really get over them. What we do is we learn to manage them. Mike, you said when you first used to go up on stage and do public speaking, you said you felt like, well, man, it wasn't really where you belonged or whatever. You said you're finally over that now. You're finally over that, you know? But it took repetition to do that. And that's the way it is with working out. If you start doing bench presses in the gym, the first 6 weeks, it's going to hurt.
Oh my God.
And then eventually, hopefully you're going to do enough repetitions, you're going to get through most of that pain. And it's only when you push yourself, if you want to gain another, 5 pounds of muscle weight or whatever, then you're going to have to expect that it's going to be uncomfortable. This is life. If you want to grow, it's going to demand discomfort, period.
Give me some more of those 5. So you gave me fear of looking bad. You gave me the imposters. 3 more. Give them to me.
Yeah, so the other one is the ADA syndrome, 3 of the 5, ADA syndrome, and that's the allowance, deservance, and approval. The approval piece, we're still looking for the smack on the butt from the 8th grade coach saying, go get him, Tiger.
Right.
Really, the reality is a lot of people, the accountants out there that want to succeed in a business of their own, the bookkeepers, whatever it is, the coaches, some of them are still waiting for that, that hand of God to reach down and say, go get him, Tiger, and give him a smack on the butt. It ain't coming, man. Sorry, because you'd probably end up in a lawsuit anyway if you did that. Okay, so
yeah, but you can pay for it.
Yeah, that's the approval piece of the ADA syndrome. You got deservance. A lot of people just don't think they deserve it. I shared quickly yesterday that a lot of us don't feel worthy. We don't feel worthy. And then the other piece of this is allowance. I remember my wife said to me one time, Dan, I was just crying my eyes out one time, this is, a decade ago or whatever, struggling with some stuff around businesses of my own, whatever. And she's like, it's sometimes, I swear to you, Dan, you just don't allow it. It's like you'll sabotage opportunities that come in front of you. You'll blow them up. Like you screw it up. How about the accountant that's, maybe he's on vacation or she's on vacation and gets a phone call and, I'll get back to them tomorrow. And there's this inner piece, this inner part of them, PIECE, this inner part of them that will sabotage stuff because it doesn't want to be uncomfortable. We are all comfort addicts. That's the number one narcotic is comfort. I don't care whether you're a drinker or a drunk, wherever you get your numbing, whatever it is, we're comfort addicts. That's what we are, all of us as human beings, and we get conditioned by that comfort. So we got to learn to stretch. We got to learn to be uncomfortable, and that's why the people don't make sales calls. It's uncomfortable to have the phone call, have people hang up the phone on you.
Right.
It's uncomfortable.
Right.
So that's, it's simple. This stuff is simple when you take it down to its root cause. So that was the ADA syndrome. Another one So another one is the OMT paradox, and that is the erroneous belief that if we just had one more thing, we'd have all that we needed. And I call it a paradox because it's a never-ending sort of joke. Like, really? Because once you get that, then you're going to have another reason why not to. I remember one time talking to this guy. He was working in the kitchen at a restaurant, and he said, "Yeah, man." He goes, if I can just save up that $350,000, I got a plan. I am going to start a restaurant." I'm like, dude, are you serious? You're working in the kitchen at the restaurant. You think you're going to save $350,000? I don't think it's going to happen that way. You got to come up with a better plan, because right now that's just bullshit. You're making this simple for you to fail. Put something up like that. Just put one more thing. If I just had that, then I'll succeed.
Well, it's also like the business owner that just started, and they say to the accountant or bookkeeper, "I'll hire you when I have money." And they never do it. It's, listen, it should be, hire me and I'll help you make money.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the fifth one?
Yeah, so the fifth one is an umbrella of a number of them, and one that I love to talk about. Okay, so the umbrella is social constraints, and it encompasses or embodies about 4 or 5 different things. And one of them is this. I call it the hidden caste. Now, we know in other countries, I have some friends of mine that are from India, and there it's actually more apparent. They actually have castes. You're born into these castes.
Yeah.
Now, somebody might argue, well, that's not really true anymore. Oh, okay, well, how long has it been not true? 20 years, 30 years? Are you kidding me? This stuff
true.
lingers on for generations. So here in America, we have one too. We just don't talk about it really. We've got upper, middle, lower, upper, middle. All those different castes, if you will. If you don't think that those castes come with some accompanying psychology, you're nuts.
Yeah.
They absolutely come with some psychology. I mean, my dad drove a high-low. My mom worked, she ran an office for a group of medical professionals. I mean, very middle-class family.
Right.
I guarantee you that came with psychology. It absolutely positively. Now, I can't go deep into it here. I do in my course, but I can't here because it would take the remaining 8 minutes or whatever we got. Another one in there. How about this one? How far away are African Americans from the psychology of slavery? 5 to 10 generations?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And it still plays out, right? I mean,
yeah, it still plays out. And if you deny it,
what I'm hearing is it forces a social conformity. There's a certain expectation of, how an accountant or bookkeeper should behave. They should have those glasses on. They're looking over their green visor. And there's a certain expectation. And yet accountants and bookkeepers are trying to move, the ones that are on top of it, are trying to move to a consultative model, but they're afraid because of what the world expects of them. That's at least what I'm hearing from you.
That's brilliant. I'm glad that you made that jump because I didn't even make the jump, and I'm like mixed up in this stuff.
I passed him the note.
No, perfect. Yeah. Perfect. No, you nailed it. That's perfect because the accountants are like that. And that, it reminds me of something else. What about lawyers that aren't allowed to advertise because it's not professional?
Right.
You gotta be freaking kidding. I mean, are you serious? I'm supposed to just expect the world's going to be the path to my door?
Yeah.
You're right. You nailed it. I love that. It reminds me of a story a teacher told in college, and she talked about how one day she was making a pot roast at her home, and she pulls her mom's over visiting, and she cuts the pot roast in half, and she takes it and she puts a hunk in one half in a pan, and then does another, and puts one on each level of the shelf in the oven, right, 2 separate levels, and in doing that, her mom says to her, she goes, "Honey, why did you cut the pot roast in half?" She said, "I don't know, Mom, that's what you did." She said, "Honey, I didn't have a pan big enough."
Great. Yeah. Awesome.
So your final thoughts, we got to start wrapping things up. If an accountant or bookkeeper is listening to the show right now, they're stuck in their business, however that's defined. They can't grow. They can't make the next sale. They're afraid. They feel the pressure of the changing of the industry. What can someone do to take that first step to getting unstuck?
I think they'd be great to hire a coach or become a part of the programs that you guys offer, or the programs that I offer on my online. I think that's a big piece of it. They don't want to separate with that $150 an hour, or $200 an hour, or whatever the coach is charging. But they're really separating themselves from success by not diving into that stuff. I got a buddy of mine, he's a CPA, and he is the stiffest cat in the planet. I mean, he does not want to dig into his psychology. Heaven forbid he get touchy-feely. You know what I mean? And I call him on stuff sometimes, and he just gets all this offense around it, and then he has clients leaving, and I know some of them personally because I've referred people to the guy, but he has a point where he's just stuck. Now that's okay for 80% of his clients, but when they grow and they want to get bigger, they leave him behind. And therefore he's not growing and getting bigger, right? Because what is it, like you're the average of X number of your clients, income. So I would ask all of the accountants out there, bookkeepers, whatever you're trying to grow your businesses, to consider that coaching piece. Dive into the psychology, because it's just like the same thing around like, why is oil slippery? Well, if you understand it at a molecular level, you'll get it. Okay, you've got to understand this stuff at a deeper level. That inner child, you need to touch this stuff. Every single thing that I shared with you, I deal with on a daily basis, moment to moment. This stuff, it comes up in my life. The difference is I'm aware of it, and I can choose at that point as to whether or not who's gonna co-sign my paycheck, fear or courage? Who's gonna settle my estate, regret or triumph?
Right. I mean, triumph, of course. I mean, you got to push through this stuff. Dan, where can people learn more about your organization?
I think the easiest way, guys, I've got this sort of cobbled together crappy website that I need to up the game on a little bit, but Facebook.com/Thrive Orchard is probably the easiest way. Just connect with me on Facebook, Thrive Orchard. And that's a brand that I'm working on right now. And then I also have my online course, and that's at thriveorchard.teachable.com.
Yeah, I want everyone to know, listen to the show, Dan works with a wide variety of organizations, but if you're an accountant, bookkeeper, or coach, Dan is definitely the appropriate guy to go to. I mean, you got to break through the stuff that gets you stuck. And this was just a teaser what he has to offer. Dan, thanks so much for joining us today.
Excellent. Thanks, Dan.
Hey, guys, thanks for having me.
And we'll include everything in the show notes so you can check out more about Dan. Ron, we got some other business to take care of. First of all, we got to summarize what we learned from Dan. We have to get your Obi-Wan Kenobi tip of the day. And I got a little GMAP Now task. But the first thing I want to do, thank our corporate partners to make the show a reality. I'll go through them quickly. First is Nextiva, voice over IP phone system. It is the creme de la creme. Receipt Bank, scanning those receipts. No longer have a shoebox. You can have your clients just scan a receipt and it goes right to QBO, Xero, Sage, any of the platforms. Fundera, one-stop shop for your loans. Your client needs some money, go to fundera.com. It'll source the loan for them, multiple sources, and identifies which one's the best option. No longer have to go bank by bank. And then Fundbox, which is a cash flow accelerator. If your clients have invoices due to them and they have a cash crunch going on, Fundbox releases the 100% of the funds, usually within 24 hours. And then when the invoice payment comes in, you return it to Fundbox. It's that easy. All right, Ron. First, I want to learn what you learned.
Yeah, what I learned was, again, in all situations, it's the passion, the persistence, and the vision. And, if one of them is off, well, it's going to be very difficult to get unstuck. And you have to do the work. Bottom line, you have to do the work. So I really enjoyed all of what Dan was saying, but it does all come down to you have to do the work. You have to have the passion. And most importantly, you have to have the persistence. You are going to hit an obstacle. You are going to run up against, barriers.
Yeah.
It's how you react when you face them.
Yes, I agree.
Hoorah!
Hoorah! Hoorah! You know what I should do? I got another page full of notes here. I should start like a manual or a folder with all the notes I have. I have 605 pages of notes now because everyone. I don't know. Then we could sell it.
We could send this to fun. I like it.
Yeah. All right. So here's what I learned. Partner up with a compliment, right? So if your natural strength is not to be the touchy-feely, the EQ, as Dan put it, find the person who is and partner up in some capacity. Second thing was I love the 5 things. Fear of looking bad is something that restricts you. The imposter syndrome, the ADA, which is allowance, deservance, approval. The one more thing, like I'll get by if I just do one more thing. And it's, of course, social constraints. We really got to explore those and get by. But my favorite thing, hands down, was the most addictive thing in the world is comfort. It is so comfortable to stay the same. And that's a big problem.
It is. And you've heard me say that here, but the saying I've been saying recently, that's a mouthful, is that, people get in a groove. They're grooving, they're grooving. And what happens when you get in a groove too long?
A rut.
You're working in a rut.
Exactly.
All right. So,
Hey, Ron.
Yes.
Hey, real quick on that, Ron, you said the word a second ago, you said the word react. I would challenge all the accountants to consider responding instead, because reacting is doing the same thing you did before.
Right. Absolutely. Boom.
Response. Another tip. The guest got the atomic bomb. All right, Ron, here's what you got to do. You got that crazy lightsaber of yours. We're running time, so let's get right to it.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
Psychology of the sale.
All right. Let me just get here. All right. Today I'm going to be talking about Weber's law in pricing. Now, the clinical definition is a little heady, but bear with me. Weber's law states that a just noticeable change in a given stimulus appears to as consistent ratio of the original stimulus. What? Basically, I know,
dude,
right?
No one knows what you're talking about.
No one knows what. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Basically, what they're saying is even small price changes when the price is low can cause a person to react differently and change their behavior towards you and your service.
Okay.
But make large changes in expensive items little effect on the buyer.
Really?
Yeah.
So smaller changes has a greater effect and larger changes has a lesser effect?
Yeah.
Wow,
Absolutely.
fascinating.
So that's why like the car manufacturer who significantly increases the price of their high-end items with little change in resulting sales.
Really?
However, the soap seller increases the price by a moderate amount. Sales dip sharply.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So the logic of this is that, in fact, it means that when the price is low, okay, in a small change, it really makes a significant effect. But if you're paying for a high-priced item and there is a price increase, it's almost like, oh, okay, great. I'm paying a little more. It's almost like a treat, which is so weird, right? It's uncanny how that works. So I bring this up because this is what you can do for your accounting practice. Okay, we all want to do rate increases. Monthly increases, but if you start with a low price point, they're going to feel it.
Yeah.
So if you're only billing, $100 a month for services and you want to get it up to 110, those people that are paying that extra 10, they're going to be upset about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so what do you want to do? Start with higher price points across the board. Okay. And the reason also is that realize that many people realize that if the price is higher, the service is going to be better and the quality is better. But if you are going to do a rate increase on lower rates, make sure you're identifying the point at which price change is noticed by the customer. Okay. You might want to scale it a little bit, a 3% increase, a 4% increase, and take a look, realizing that you are going to lose some lower end clients. Okay. But that's okay. We want to replace them with more profitable, higher investing type of customers. So realize that when you do a rate increase, chances are your higher paying customers are going to be okay with it. Your lower priced customers are not going to be okay with it.
Ron, that was beautiful. That was a big insight. I've never thought about that. And I can kind of see it because I think the lower priced starting point also attracts people that are much more price sensitive.
Absolutely.
Right. So that makes great sense. I got one more thing for you, Ron.
What's that, Mike?
Some good
man,
music.
you get me every time.
Every
you say,
time.
I got one more thing. I'm like, what is it?
What could it be? What could it be? It's this.
I might even go work out today.
Oh, there you go. That'd be nice. Why do we crank up this song? Because it's that important. I mean, we like to have a fun time. We like to have a fun time, but it is about moving your business forward. As Dan said, it's time to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Here's what I want you to do. Talking about getting uncomfortable. I want you to write your own eulogy.
Oh,
yeah, it's painful.
You always make us cry doing these things.
I do, and you don't like that at all.
No, I don't.
I know you don't.
But I do it.
I know you do.
I'm uncomfortable, but I do it.
I absolutely commend you for that. So what I want you to do, my dear GMAP listener friends, is write your own eulogy. If today was your final day, if this was your funeral, what do you want the people there saying about you? That should speak to your mission. That you loved your family unequivocally. That you cared for your customers by doing what? That's the thing that we need to bring to your business. So write your own eulogy.
Yeah. Now, Mike, opposite, you don't want people saying, man, he didn't spend all that money. He can't take that to the grave with him.
Oh, that's the new thing you're on. That's the new ride Ron's on.
That's how Mike's getting me to spend money internally here.
Yeah. Well, not internally, on your own personal stuff. But yeah, so what do you want people saying about you? Do it. Okay, Ron, we got to start wrapping up and getting out of here. What should people be doing? What's the call to action?
Yeah. So everybody, thank you very much. We really appreciate you joining us in on this. And thank you to our lovely guests, and really appreciate everything that Dan is doing for the community. So again, you can review us on Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn Radio. We would love to get your 5-star ratings. And of course, check us out on growmyaccountingpractice.com.
And of course, go to profitfirstprofessionals.com. If you're an accountant, if you're a bookkeeper, if you're a coach, we are moving into the future at lightning speed now. You must be consultative. Ron and I and our team here now, it's about 12 or 13 of us, have developed a program that allows you to be consultative on the most important component that customers need, and it's profitability.
Profit.
So here's how you do it. Go to profitfirstprofessionals.com. That's step 1. Step 2, click on the Become button and fill out the form there. Step 3, submit it, and then we'll start the conversation. Most accountants and bookkeepers are not a good fit. Most accountants and bookkeepers cannot be advisors and consultants. Those are the ones, sadly, that maybe should consider retiring or moving out of this industry because that's where we're going. But there is a select few that understand that we have to work with the behavior of money to drive profitability in our clients. And that's what Profit First does. So let's have a conversation. I suspect if you're listening to this show, you are one of the people that can make the leap and serve customers and drive profitability in their businesses and in your own. So go to profitfirstprofessionals.com right now, click on Become, and we're off to the races. All right, we'll see you
Awesome.
later.
Thanks,
Have a great
guys.
week.
Bye.